What's going on, everybody? It's Dr. Chris Featherstone here for yet another edition of Unscripted. It's Tuesday night. You know what that means. I have some of the biggest, the baddest, the best wrestlers of today and yesteryear. And guess what? This night is no different. This guy gets handsome by the year. You know, he's a very stunning guy, man. He never was really known for his looks. He was known for his hardcore style. But the older he gets, man, he starts to look like some type of Fabio model. And I don't know if anybody ever told him that, but there's a first time for everything. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, former WWE Tag Team Champion, Hardcore Champion, and the most debonair European champion of all time, Al Snow. How are you, my man?
Thank you very much. I've got to tell you, that's probably one of the best introductions I've ever had.
Thank you, my man. I appreciate it, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very happy to be here, and I can't thank you enough for giving me the time to be on your show.
My pleasure, man. Speaking of shows, man, you've made it happen in OVW, man. Let the fans know about just how OVW has been the past few years, really making a lot of attraction and presence since the overhaul and everything since you've taken over.
Yeah, I bought OVW about 3 years ago, I believe it is, and along with several partners, we purchased OVW, and we started the reconstruction process, so to speak. With that process, we've revamped the school that used to be the Harvard of professional wrestling. That was the reputation that it had, to try to bring it back to its former glory. And as such, we're the only training center in the world that is accredited by the State Office of Proprietary Education as a trade school.
Wow.
So, we're not just the young men and women. We're not just trying to teach them the in-ring skills, but also give them skills backstage, producing the show, directing, writing, event management, business management, operating camera operation, lighting, sound, etc. So that not only does it make them better understand what they need to do as a performer in the ring to better take advantage of those opportunities in the ring and when they're on TV, but it gives them options that once, that career inside the ring comes to an end, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that will happen.
Yeah.
They now have some skills that they can, still be a part of it, a viable part of the professional wrestling industry, or go into broadcasting or some other form of the entertainment industry. And we've rebuilt the television show. We're on Fight TV every Thursday night, live for 2 hours from 7 to 9. We are nationally, we're in about 150 million homes through a variety of different national networks. And we're on internationally, we have our own Roku channel. We have our own Amazon Fire, Amazon Prime, and we're on Sports International. It's a European sports channel. Reaches, from what I've been told, about 700 million homes. And then we are also on Sky Sports over in the UK as well.
Wow.
So we're trying to expand our reach regionally. We've just signed a deal where we're now on in Louisville, which we always have been on in Louisville. It's historically been our city. But we're now on in Hazard and Lexington and Bowling Green.
Very nice.
And if those go well, then we'll expand out into Evansville and Huntington, West Virginia, and then we'll basically cover the entire state and start going into southeastern Ohio and as far north as Indianapolis and Indiana, and as far south as Nashville and Knoxville in Tennessee.
Wow. Yeah, I'm in Columbus. I'm not too far from you. So
Yeah,
Columbus, Ohio. Yeah. When you said Evansville and in those states, I thought about the
oh, we froze up. Oh, come on, unfreeze. Come on, you can do it. Come on. He's kind of froze up there, buddy. Come on, what happened? what happened? Let's try one. I can see you.
Yep. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it was just nuts. My phone just went off or something. I don't know what it was. All right, let's get into these questions.
Sure.
I have a expensive new desktop, and then it just decided to just completely go bonkers on me for the first time in the history of this show. But here we go. Let's start right into it. Here we go. Let's start with Rito. Greetings from Puerto Rico. How did a Leif Cassidy character come about? And what did you most enjoy being the Shinobi character?
The Leif Cassidy character came about because I had been given an opportunity with a character or a gimmick called Avatar, which if I knew then what I know now, I could probably have taken more advantage of it and capitalized on that opportunity a lot better. But it didn't really fit. It didn't work. It wasn't me. And Bruce Pritchard, I think, came up with the idea of the Leif Cassidy gimmick to put me with Marty Jannetty. We would reform the Rockers. And the idea was the reason I acted so goofy was that thought that I was still like a teenage idol when I was an older guy and was still trying to live in the past. And, I had a great time with Marty. I think that Marty, quite honestly, I've said this before, I think that Marty is very underappreciated for his talent. And, I think that people, if they really knew and understood what goes on behind the scenes, just how really good Marty really was. It was great. It didn't go anywhere because, and rightfully so, I think Marty saw that as kind of a little bit of a knock against what he and Sean had done. And as a result, we had a run with it, but, it came to an end and Marty went to WCW and I was right back where I started, kind of, I was still Leif Cassidy, but was kind of on my own. And being Shinobi, that was a character I came up with years ago when I had my school in Ohio. And I really initially just came up with it to be able to work with the students. If we ran a show, let's say in your hometown, if we were going to run one in Columbus, I wanted to make sure that you had a really good match. So the best match you could have was with me. So, I would put on this outfit and I would literally, I trained myself, taught myself how to move differently, have different body language and wrestle completely differently than what I did as Al Snow. That way nobody would ever figure it out that it was me. And I ended up starting to get booked more as Shinobi than I did as Al Snow. And, it was brought back a couple of times in WWE and finally brought back, to go against Tajiri with Coach. And the writers were insistent that they unmask me. And I kept saying, no, there's no point in this. And they were like, no, we need to take your mask off. And then the next day, Vince walks up to me and he goes, boy, that was great. That was one of the best matches I've ever seen you have. Why'd you take the mask off? I go, well, because they told me to. So there you go.
Yeah. Rito's also asking thoughts about the 24/7 championship. Many people think it's just like the hardcore title you held 6 times your career. Does it compare? Or does it not compare to the hardcore championship?
It doesn't. It only compares in the sense that there toward the end, they made the 24/7 rule for the hardcore title. But no, it doesn't compare. I think that it's a good idea in the sense that professional wrestling or a professional wrestling show is kind of like a 3-ring circus. I mean, there's got to be something for everybody, and you can't have everyone out there being a badass and everything like that. And you've got to have some entertainment and a little bit of levity in there in places. And having a title like that kind of lets you create unusual situations and circumstances. But the only problem with it is that the more you defend and the more that title switches hands more frequently, the less it means. And then if it doesn't mean anything, then the matches or events that are taking place around it doesn't mean as much. And if it really was a title that meant anything, if it were real, the more people than just the undercard guys would be attempting to do it. They would, you know, um, Seth Rollins would take an opportunity, and if he had a chance, because at the end of the day, the wrestlers are just like boxers or MMA fighters, are prize fighters, and so winning the match gets you paid more money. If you win a title, then you're going to get paid more money. So if there's a title running around that all you got to do is ambush somebody walking down a hallway, and you're going to get a bigger check, guess what? I'm going to be waiting in a broom closet ready to jump out and mug the guy and take the belt. So
Exactly. Yeah. And similar to that, what did you think about Mick Foley introducing the championship? As far as kind of exposing it and bringing it to the WWE audience.
I thought it was good, but I think that's where the confusion lies, is that,
Correct. Yeah.
a lot of this audience assumes that because Mick was introducing it, that it was similar to the hardcore title. But, the hardcore title was a title that was a kind of a no holds barred, you didn't have to be in the ring, stay in the ring. You could use weapons. You could just pretty much, had the freedom to do whatever you wanted to do, type of situation, where the 24/7 is literally, it's just being defended 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you could be in the grocery store and, somebody could just come and roll you up and,
Right.
pin you while you're getting a gallon of milk. But, but I don't think they can use weapons and things like that. That would take it out of the realm of it. It would put it into the realm of the hardcore title. Then why wouldn't you just make it a division called the hardcore division instead?
Yeah. Yeah. Guillermo's asking, how was working on Tough Enough, and what's your opinion on Nidia and Maven's time in WWE?
Working on Tough Enough was probably one of the most proudest things I've ever done in wrestling. I really loved and enjoyed that amazing opportunity. I thought that it was such a great, almost like an infomercial for wrestling, in the sense that it was a great scouting tool to find new talent and develop. And it was also a great way to bring in an audience that didn't necessarily watch wrestling, but the more they would watch that show, become invested in the kids. And then when the kids went to the main roster, they followed them there to see how they turned out, in professional wrestling. So it was a great way to grow the audience and to bring in people that would normally not watch it. And I thought Nidia and Maven did awesome. Maven was well on a track there at first to, become a really strong, solid player in WWE. But then he suffered that freak accident where we went to try to do that baseball slide, and it broke his leg. And people don't understand that there is one of the biggest factors in not just wrestling but in sports in general is timing. And you can get on the timings there, everything's right, you're starting to develop as a performer, as an athlete, and then you get one injury and it sidelines you, and man, it throws you off track. And sometimes it can throw a whole career off track. Think of the number of baseball players or football players or basketball players that have been, on a fast track and look like they could be a major superstar, and then something happens, an injury occurs, they're sidelined, and then they just never quite get back where they were. The magic's not there no more.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the same story.
It could be because they got hurt, now they're scared, they don't play like they used to play, but that's possible. So,
and that's, similar to what you're saying. That's the same story for a lot of wrestlers who were former football players. They were injured, and someone like a Goldberg, for instance, he got injured and couldn't play anymore, and he became a big, wrestling Hall of Famer. So,
sure,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I thought Nidia did fantastic. She had that run with Jamie Noble, and she had, and listen, everybody doesn't have multi-year runs. Everybody gets a run in wrestling. It's just they vary as far as the length of time that they last. And some, and she was there for several years, and she did very well. You know.
Yeah. Me and my media. Always remember that. All right, let's do some questions from people I haven't asked from or haven't talked to. Let's see. Um, let's see. There's a lot of questions here.
Oh, good.
Alan's asking, who is your favorite superstar in WWE at the moment and why?
Who would be my favorite superstar in WWE right now, and why? Boy, that's a tough one. I think I like Eli Drake, L.A. Knight. I've always been a fan of his, and he's got charisma. He's got the look. He can move in the ring, and he can talk.
Yeah, great talker.
He's very, very creative and very imaginative, and you can believe it. And you can he is who he is, and that's a big important thing. That's probably, and you can describe him in a sentence or less. I tell people this all the time, that is the most important quality for a wrestler to truly be a star, is your ability as a fan to be able to describe them in a sentence or less. You can't describe these wrestlers, or any entertainer, in a sentence or less. They're never going to really truly reach that level of being a true star. It's not going to happen. If I said beer drinking, ass kicking redneck that flips off his boss, you know exactly who I'm talking about. You know how he's going to wrestle. You know everything about him, and you can turn to your friends and family, and you got to watch his show. There's this guy, he's a beer drinking, ass kicking redneck. What? Yeah, well, you get who he is. You know what he's about. You know what he stands for. So,
yeah. Absolutely. That's a good point there. Let's see. A few more. James is saying, hey, I'm Snow. I met you a few years ago at the show. You're awesome. My question is, what was it like working with the big boss man in a famous dog kennel match? And second question, I know you wrestled Bill Wong before. How was working with him?
Working with wrestling Ray Trailer, Big Boss Man, was awesome. Was an amazing opportunity, and he was such a wonderful person. It's unfortunate that we were put into a really tough circumstance, and the number one rule in wrestling is to take shit and make shoe polish. But you literally build the crux of an entire story around animals that are supposed to be highly trained. And, and you're painting the picture that, they're going to be circling this cage that's on the ring inside another cage, like sharks, rabid sharks. And, I show up that morning in Charlotte, and they had contacted some local veterinarian clinics, got a list of owners that owned Rottweilers, and, showed up with different owners with different dogs, and only one dog had some obedience training. So now you've spent months building the entire crux of the story around the use of these animals. And now the animals are out there urinating, defecating, and fornicating to where you can't even show them on TV. So, we were kind of put back against the wall.
Yeah.
And we really didn't, it was still up to us to try to make chicken salad out of that. But, well, I'm telling you, it's tough. And even people in porn know that you can't work with animals or kids. They'll upstage you every time. So,
yeah.
And I wrestled Benoit, I think, only on 3 different occasions. Every time we did, man, we just clicked. I mean, it was so physically easy to work with him. It was like a night off because he was so aggressive that I could be as aggressive back, and I didn't have to worry about him not knowing what to do. Or, he came from the same generation I did, and it wasn't an issue like with Regal or Finley. I could do the same thing where, I could get in there and I could be aggressive, and there was that give and take, and you didn't have to worry that if it wasn't done exactly the way they expected, that your opponent expected, or they hadn't called in the back, that these guys would know how to deal with it. And, and we could still put on a very believable competitive match. And it was so easy to do.
Yeah, very nice. You, from what I've known, there hasn't been a lot of your personal take on the Benoit tragedy. I mean, working with him, was it very surprising to
Oh yeah.
find out what happened in 2007?
Yeah, I mean, to see Nancy and to see Chris, and whenever we saw them together, and to see Chris and Nancy with their son, and I mean that was what the boys, we all kind of aspired. They looked like they were in love, and like it's hard in this business to find a partner and find somebody that you can have that kind of a relationship with, and because you're just this business can eat you alive. And we, every time we'd go to WrestleMania, we'd all bring our families and stuff. You couldn't help but admire them. And so to this day, I mean, the only people that are ever going to know what really happened in the house are Chris, Nancy, and God. I mean, ain't nobody else going to know, and everybody's going to have their assumptions and their suppositions, and and we're going to all do what we normally do, which is we're going to try to distance ourselves from it by claiming, well, this happened for this reason, and that way, if it's a reason that you're not doing or you've never been a part of, well, then that way you can ensure it probably will never happen to you and your family. And that's a defense mechanism that people always try to jump on, and well, it must have been this, well, it must have been that. And when we really, none of us, we have no idea. It's all just speculation it's even on the police's part. It's really just speculation because, they're going to try to piece together the puzzle and just take the nearest assumption that connects the dots, but they really truly don't know.
Yeah. Sad.
That's not in defense of him. I want to make it clear. It's not in defense of him. It's what a terrible, tragic, horrible situation, but none of us know what really truly did occur that weekend.
Yep. Got a comment and then one more question. Elvis is saying, Mr. Al Snow, you are by far the best wrestler I've met, because you are the only wrestler to directly go meet your fans after you got out of your car. You met me and held up my long hair. This was in 2005 or 2006 when ECW came back to the event. It was in Pueblo, Colorado. God bless you. Thank you for the memories.
Well, hey, I got to tell you, if it weren't for the fans, we wouldn't get to do what we get to do. I tell fans all the time, they'll, thank you for this, or thank you. No, thank you. Because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have a job, and, I've gotten the blessing of getting to do what I love to do for as long as I've gotten to do it, all because of the fact of having people that actually enjoy watching wrestling and support it. And I cannot express my gratitude enough that, I've gotten to get away with making people believe that I actually know what I'm doing for as long as I've gotten to make people believe it. So nobody's found out yet that I'm just making this up as I go along.
Well, there's more than one person completing the sentence. What does everybody want? What does everybody need? So you said, knowing people by, just one or two sentences. That's what people know Al Snow by. That's the reason why 20 years later, you're still a thing. And you're still over, Al Snow. You're still over.
I'm not over it like I used to be, but I'm happy to still be in the business and get to do what I love to do. Indeed. And I want to look when everybody that what does everybody want, what does everybody need, and what does everybody love? It was a double entendre, but I honestly never meant it as that. That was not the case. I meant when I do it, if you pay attention, when I do it, when I would do it in the ring, I would get angry, and I would get angrier every time I go, what does everybody want? And I'd hold the head up, then I'd get angrier, and what does everybody need? Because here's a guy who so desperately wants the fans to want and need and love him. And he's having success, but really what they want, need, and love is a plastic head. And I never pitched the idea to Vince, but my real idea was that I wanted to get jealous of the head And just like another wrestler, I wanted to attack it in the back and do all the things that you do with another wrestler and have matches with it, because I got angry at it because the fans loved and wanted and needed that more than they did me.
So you were playing second fiddle to the head. The head was more over than Al Snow.
That's right. Still to
Right
this
for the
day.
picking. Yeah, for a heel turn.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
What does everybody want? They don't say Al Snow. They say head.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, you know what? Let's change that. From now on, don't say head, just say Al Snow. Last question for Rizu. Do you have any crazy Marty Jannetty stories?
Oh God, I got tons of crazy Marty Jannetty stories. You know, traveling with Marty Jannetty was like being Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom. I mean, every hotel was booby trapped. Every car ride, something would happen. You know, he just, how his brain works is honest to God. I don't know. He and Kurt Hennig were the two that did it, you know, that were the worst when it came. Everybody talks about Owen Hart, but it would be Owen Hart, Marty Jannetty, and Kurt Hennig as far as locker room ribs. I mean, Marty just was on a different level. I mean, I would get up to take a shower, and he would take the time to unloosen all the shower curtain on all the hooks, so when you push it to back, it would fall down. Then he one time stuffed KY jelly in the shower head, so that when I took a shower, the KY jelly came out all over top of me.
Oh, wow.
He would do all, he stuck a condom in my back pocket. We went to Green Bay, Wisconsin. We're walking in the building, and I'm walking around the whole building and walking around catering. And I got a condom hanging out of my back of my pocket because he just slipped it in there. And, guys were laughing at me. I'm like, what's wrong with them? And he would never tell me, he's on a different level. He really is. He used to eat. I'll tell you briefly. He had, when Vince had the IcoPro supplements, he gave all the boys IcoPro supplements. Now this was years before I met Marty in 90, started working with Marty in 95. So that whenever they did the IcoPro thing was probably back in the early 90s, I think. Mm-hmm. And so he had been keeping those in his garage in Orlando, Florida. So you know how hot and humid it is down there. So he's eating purposely, keep in mind, eating purposely the amino acid tablets because they gave him horrible gas. So he could fart on the plane. And then one time we were in San Antonio at the Alamo Dome, right? And there was this little office, this little small hole in the wall room where all the agents were in there for an agent meeting, so they can go over finishes and stuff like that. And Marty looks at me and he goes, "Hey, just stand here, watch." And he gets this big smile on his face and he walks in. I'm like, what the hell is he doing? And then all of a sudden he comes walking back out and he goes, "Just stay right here. Just tell me what happens." And all of a sudden, Pat Patterson, Jack Lanza, Tony Gurria, they all come piling out of the room going, "My God." Because Marty went in there and farted and then just walked back out. And all of them came running out like the building was on fire.
Oh, wow. Just enjoying, just doing the best he can to enjoy his time on the road, man. Yeah, that's hilarious.
And the number of countries that man has been kicked out of. Every time he went on a foreign tour, until I was the only one that could corral him in, and he could go on a foreign tour and not be kicked out.
Wow.
One time at the Denver airport, he was not allowed to return because the guy that was they're waiting. All the guys are waiting to get to the rental car bus. They're on the rental car bus, and the guy's taking his time. He's waiting on them to get on the bus. So the boys are getting impatient because they're going to miss their flights, right? Because it's like the end of the tour and they all want to go home. So the guy goes, I gotta check on something. He gets off the bus and goes into the rental car agency. Marty gets up, gets in the driver's seat, and drives everybody to the airport and just leaves the bus there and walks out. So he stole the rental car bus.
Wow, that's hilarious. He's just doing what he can to just create stories on the fly, man.
He's in India. In India, I don't know how he does it. This beautiful hotel's got this big fountain in the center of it, in the lobby. And he's walking outside and he spots a cop that's sitting on his motorcycle in front of the hotel. He goes up, talks the cop into letting him take the motorcycle for a ride. He goes and rides up and down the street, and then, for whatever reason, spots the stairs to the hotel lobby. Proceeds to ride the motorcycle up the stairs. Bam Bam Bigelow, I think it was, held the door open for him. He rides right through the front door, and then goes and takes a lap around the lobby, wrecks the motorcycle into the big fountain, takes a bump into the fountain, gets up, has to pull the fender away from the front wheel where he wrecked it, rides it back out the hotel, back down the stairs, gives it back to the cop.
Wow. Wow. That's some crazy Marty Jannetty stories there, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's one of a
Awesome,
kind.
man. Yeah, one of a kind for sure. Well, let's listeners know one more time about LVW, man. I appreciate your time so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. If they want more information, they can go to ovwrestling.com or aswa.live. So they can get information on the school. They can get information on OVW and upcoming events. The TV is every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. You can watch it on the Fight TV app anywhere in the world. There's plenty of other places, broadcast-wise, cable television-wise, streaming-wise, that you can watch it as well. You can follow me at The Real Al Snow on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And yes, there were some fakes. And if you do fake me, all I'm going to do is write a message to you and go, look, raise the bar, man. If you're going to fake being a celebrity, be like George Clooney or Brad Pitt or somebody. I mean, I wouldn't. What are you thinking? You know, hey, I'll fly under the radar. Nobody will realize it's not the real Al Snow. Nobody can.
Yeah.
You know, and I got a comic book coming out. It's a Broken Icon Comics. It's the Ballad of Al Snow and Head, and it's awesome. We've got some amazing artists and writers that worked on that. So
very nice.
I got to throw them all. I got to pitch everything. So
that's right, man. Absolutely. Well, we do know one thing as of tonight. Al Snow is officially more over than Head is. So
yes.
Congratulations. It took 20 years, but it's here. You know?
You got to set goals, Chris. You got to set goals.
That's right, man. That's right. Good stuff. Man, Al, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much for availing your time.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.